Look what you've done. Ethan's voice cut through the cafe clatter, sharp enough to make customers glance up. Steam from the coffee swirled around his crisp suit. I'm so sorry, Lila stammered, frantically mopping the scalding liquid with napkins, only spreading it further. You didn't mean to ruin a $5,000 suit, he interrupted smoothly, voice cold, or my morning. He tilted his head, smirk faint but sharp. Tell me, Miss Hart, do you have $5,000 to replace it? Lila froze. Her heart sank. I don't. I thought not, he said, leaning closer, voice low and measured. But don't worry. I have a solution for you. Lila blinked, panic rising. A solution? Yes. He opened his sleek leather folder, revealing a crisp document. 1 year. You marry me. Legally, formally. You gain security, comfort, opportunity. I secure my inheritance and public image. When the term ends, you walk away. No one gets hurt. You want me to marry you? She whispered, voice trembling. Because I spilled coffee? Think of it as an alternative, he said evenly, eyes locking onto hers. Either you pay for the suit and disappear into debt, or you sign this contract and gain more than you ever imagined. Lila's hands shook as she gripped the edge of the counter. This is insane. I don't even know you. That's exactly why it works, he said. No emotions. No surprises. Just terms. You'll perform your role until the contract ends. After that, freedom. She swallowed hard, the reality of her situation pressing down. The cafe, the spilled coffee, the impossibility of paying for the suit. All of it seemed to narrow into one impossible choice. And if I refuse? She asked, voice barely audible. He leaned back, smirk tightening. Refuse, and you'll be paying for that suit for the rest of your life. Accept, and you gain something far greater than money. A chance to survive, and maybe even thrive. Lila's mind raced. Panic, fear, disbelief, but also a flicker of curiosity. Could she survive a year in his world? Could she prove she wasn't just a careless waitress? Fine, she whispered finally, trembling but resolute. I'll sign. Good, he said, voice smooth, controlled. Then let's begin. The next few months passed in a whirlwind of adjustment. Lila found herself in a world that moved differently from the cafe she had called her life. Every detail in Ethan's penthouse, every command he issued, was precise, deliberate, and every interaction between them was a silent battle, each word a carefully placed move on an unseen chessboard. Ethan, for his part, maintained his cold, calculating demeanor, but he noticed the way Lila moved, the way she challenged him subtly, the way her laugh, rare as it was, cut through his structured world like sunlight through glass. He hadn't expected it, and that fact both intrigued and frustrated him. You're not supposed to be here, he said one evening as he caught her lingering in the living room after dinner, her eyes scanning the art lining the walls. The contract ends at the stroke of midnight tomorrow. Why are you still wandering around my home? Lila didn't flinch. Curiosity, she said simply, and maybe I like this chaos you call life. It's different. He studied her silently, the corner of his mouth twitching. Different, huh? You have no idea what you're getting into, Miss Hart. I think I do, she said quietly, meeting his gaze. You might be the richest man in the city, but you're not invincible. You can't own people, not really. The words struck him in a way he didn't expect. His chest tightened ever so slightly, an unfamiliar ache he couldn't name. And yet, the next day, he proceeded with the routine as though nothing had changed. Contracts didn't account for feelings, after all. Or at least, that's what he told himself. But when the clock struck midnight and the final terms of the agreement expired, Lila quietly gathered her things. She left without a word, slipping out into the night, leaving only a small note on his kitchen counter. I'm done following your rules. Find me if you can, but don't expect me to return. Ethan found the note hours later, his breath catching, his mind racing. The world seemed to blur around him as the realization hit. He had wanted her from the start for the sake of a contract, but now she was gone, and he wanted her for real. He spent the next days in a relentless pursuit, calling in private investigators, following digital trails, and retracing her steps, only to hit dead ends. Each lead came back empty, each name a ghost. Frustration twisted into something sharper, desperation. Meanwhile, Lila had changed. The timid, uncertain waitress was gone. In her place stood a confident woman who walked with purpose, who smiled only when she chose, and who carried herself with a dignity that left no room for manipulation. She had found her strength, her independence, and she wasn't going to let anyone, no matter how rich or powerful, upend the life she was building. It was fate or coincidence that brought them face to face again. A charity gala downtown, a city buzzing with lights and music, and there she was across the room, laughing softly, radiant, and untouchable. Ethan's breath caught. He had expected some timid, apologetic version of the woman he had married on paper. But this was someone else entirely. He approached her cautiously, each step measured, rehearsed, yet unable to mask the raw emotion beneath his composed exterior. "Lila," he said, his voice low, carrying just enough vulnerability to catch her off guard. She turned slowly, her eyes cool and distant. "Mr. Blackwell," she said, the title slicing through the air like a blade. "I didn't expect to see you here." "I didn't expect to see you either," he admitted, his gaze steady. "But I had to find you." She arched an eyebrow. "And why is that? To beg me to come back for a contract? Because that's the only thing I agreed to once, and I'm not repeating it." Ethan shook his head. "It's not a contract anymore. I don't care about terms or conditions. I care about you." Her laughter was soft, skeptical. "You care? You wanted me for the deal. That wasn't real." "I know," he said quietly, the truth raw in his voice. "I thought it was. But now I know I was wrong. I want you. Not for power, not for business, not for anything else but you." Lila studied him, her expression unreadable. She wanted to believe him, part of her did. But she also remembered every cold glance, every calculated smile, every time she had felt like nothing more than a pawn. "Words are easy," she said softly. Actions are what matter." Ethan nodded, understanding the challenge. He would have to prove himself, and nothing about this would be easy. He couldn't buy her trust or her heart. He had to earn it, and every step forward would be a gamble, every word a test. The night unfolded with tentative conversation, subtle tests, and glances heavy with unspoken tension. Neither spoke of the past contract, and yet it lingered in every gesture, every glance, every carefully chosen word. It was a delicate dance, a game of vulnerability and restraint, and neither was willing to falter first. As the gala drew to a close, Lila excused herself, moving toward the exit with her usual grace. Ethan followed at a careful distance, not wanting to crowd her, but unwilling to let her slip away again. "Wait," he said finally, his voice firm but not demanding. She paused, looking over her shoulder, skeptical. "What now?" "I'll prove it," he said simply. "I'll prove that I'm not the man I was when we met. That I'm not after a contract or an inheritance. Her gaze softened slightly, just enough to give him hope, but she didn't let her guard down. "Actions, Mr. Blackwell. Show me." Ethan nodded, determination flaring. This wasn't about a deal anymore. This was about her, about them, about something neither of them could have anticipated when the contract was first signed. And he would fight, relentlessly, patiently, and fiercely, to earn her trust, her heart, and maybe, if he was lucky, her love. The weeks that followed were a delicate dance of distance and proximity. Ethan had learned quickly that persistence without respect was pointless. He had to let Lila set the pace, even as his every thought was tethered to her. Each morning, he woke with the memory of her smile, the tilt of her head when she laughed, and the way her eyes could quietly pierce through his carefully constructed walls. The city outside continued its indifferent rhythm, but inside him, a storm brewed, one fueled not by business, deals, or control, but by something far more unpredictable, desire tempered by remorse. Lila, meanwhile, navigated her world with cautious independence. Her boutique thrived under her care, small but intimate, filled with the scent of fresh linens and the soft clinking of teacups for her visiting clients. She took pride in her work, greeting regulars warmly and arranging displays with meticulous care. Yet despite the contentment, she couldn't shake Ethan from her thoughts. She was the one who walked out of his penthouse the moment the contract ended. No goodbye, no second glance. Yet the memory of his dark, unreadable gaze still lingered like an echo she couldn't silence. The mix of fear, anger, and unwanted longing unsettled her more than she cared to admit. It was a bright Saturday morning when fate intervened. Lila was arranging fresh pastries in the display, humming softly when the bell above the boutique door chimed. She looked up and froze. Her heart stumbled. Ethan stood there, impeccably dressed, powerful as ever, but something in his posture had changed. His presence was still commanding, but there was a softness around the edges, a quiet hesitation she had never seen before. "Mr. Blackwell," Lila said cautiously, her tone cool as she folded her arms. "This is a private workspace. You shouldn't be here." "I know," he said, stepping in slowly, as if approaching a wild creature that might bolt at any moment. "But I needed to see you, to finally say what I should have said a long time ago." She kept her stance firm. "Why now? After a whole year of silence? You had every chance to talk to me while I lived under your roof." His jaw flexed, guilt flickering across his features. "Because I didn't realize what I'd lost until the moment you walked out that door. You didn't even look back." His voice dropped, rougher now, and it hit me harder than I expected. Lila didn't flinch. "Ethan, the contract ended. That's all it ever was." "No," he said quietly, shaking his head. "It became more, at least for me." His eyes locked onto hers, no longer cold, no longer calculating, just painfully honest. "I thought I wanted control, the deal, the inheritance. But what I want now," his voice softened, "is you. Without conditions, without terms." She exhaled slowly. "Words are easy, Ethan. You had behind contracts before. How do I know this isn't just another performance?" His gaze didn't waver. "Then I'll prove it. No papers, no legalities, no games." He took a small step forward. "Just me, showing you the man I should have been from the start." Over the next few weeks, their connection deepened through small, intimate moments. He helped her rearrange a new clothing display, commenting on color choices and asking for her opinion in ways that respected her expertise. At cafes, he asked about her day, genuinely listening, never steering the conversation back to himself. Once, when she dropped a delicate ornament in her boutique, he caught it with a quick reflex and a quiet, "Got it." No dramatic declarations, just presence, care, attentiveness. One afternoon, she found herself laughing at a joke he had whispered about a mannequin's fashion sense. It was the first laugh she had allowed herself around him in months. He smiled, not triumphantly, but softly, his gaze warm and focused. "That's the sound I've been chasing," he said quietly. She smiled faintly, shaking her head. "You're persistent." "And you," he replied, his voice steady, "are worth every ounce of it." Tension returned at a charity gala weeks later. Lila had been looking forward to the event with a friend, but a familiar, malicious figure appeared, a former associate of Ethan's who had always underestimated her. "So, you're the woman he married for a contract?" The woman sneered. Lila's hands clenched involuntarily, but Ethan's gentle touch on her elbow steadied her. "Ignore her," he said firmly. "She's irrelevant." "Irrelevant," the woman retorted. "Not in his world. Not in ours," Ethan countered, eyes locking with Lila's. His calm, unwavering gaze reassured her. "And you, my world, doesn't exist without you." For the first time, Lila felt the weight of his sincerity. This wasn't a grand gesture or a display of power. It was simple, honest, protective. He wasn't chasing her to possess her. He was fighting for her trust. Weeks turned into months, marked by small victories and quiet challenges. Rainy park evenings, shared coffees, and subtle conversations became their rhythm. Ethan revealed more of himself. Loneliness he rarely admitted, mistakes he regretted, the emotional cost of his past decisions. Lila, in turn, allowed herself brief moments of vulnerability, letting down her guard just enough to see the man he was becoming. One rainy afternoon, he arrived at her boutique, soaked but composed. You're wet, she said, grabbing a towel. Go home. I can't, he said softly. Not without you. I can't buy love. I can't own you. I can only respect you, cherish you, and show you I care. Her pulse quickened. How do I know this isn't another game? He closed the distance gently. Because I'm asking for your choice this time, not a contract. Your heart. Your terms. She let herself smile, small and hesitant. You're persistent. And you, he said, voice steady, are worth every ounce of it. The final weeks before their reconciliation were a series of deliberate, tender acts. He remembered the little things, the brand of coffee she preferred, the way she arranged her boutique displays, her favorite books. He never forced attention, never demanded affection. And slowly, Lila's walls began to crumble. Not overnight, not without caution, but steadily, with each quiet, patient gesture. One rainy evening, under the city lights, Ethan stopped and took both her hands. Lila, I don't expect you to forgive everything overnight. I only ask that you see me as I am now. No games, no contracts, just us. Will you give me that chance? Her throat tightened, emotion and resolve tangled together. She wanted to say yes, to lean into the warmth of a man who had proven himself over weeks and months. Actions, she whispered. I'll prove it, he said, voice steady, conviction clear. The following days were filled with careful, meaningful gestures, a cup of coffee left at the boutique counter, a handwritten note of encouragement, laughter over shared jokes, and quiet companionship that neither forced nor demanded. Lila allowed herself to trust, then to hope, and finally to lean in because she chose to. One evening, he appeared at her boutique with a single rose. You really don't give up, do you? She asked, her lips curving. Not when it comes to you, he said softly, holding the flower. Finally, in the quiet boutique, rain pattering against the windows, Lila leaned into him. Not because she had to, not because of a contract, but because she wanted to. No contracts, no games, he whispered. Just us, she echoed. The past, the fear, the cold calculations, all melted away. What remained was trust, respect, and the quiet, powerful certainty that love, fought for honestly, could heal even the most complicated beginnings. If you love their story, hit like, subscribe for more love stories, and comment below. Would you give someone a second chance after everything changed?